Isn't it extraordinary that this Labor government has spent an additional $209 billion over the last 2 years, and yet Australians are worse off than they were 2 years ago? The news today out of the RBA is cold comfort to those Australians that are really doing it tough right now, that have seen their real disposable income go backwards by 7.5% over the last 2 years because of high inflation, high interest rates and high taxation. The RBA told us today that inflation is staying higher for longer. It told us that productivity is too low. It told us that growth is lower than anticipated and that real wages are remaining flat. Now, the question for Jim Chalmers is going to be, can he deliver a budget next week that can respond to these revelations of the RBA today? Can he deliver a budget that is going to bring us back to basics on our economics, restore our budget discipline and our fiscal responsibility and our honesty, put those guardrails back in place, like a tax to GDP ratio, like a medium-term objective of a structural surplus rather than a windfall surplus? Can he tame inflation and restore our standard of living by getting those natural labour urges of spending and spending more under control? And can he restore prosperity and opportunity for all Australians? Because quite frankly, the only way that you can sustainably restore prosperity, restore opportunity, and restore our quality of life and our standard of living is to tame inflation, to get inflation under control, something that this government has failed to do time and again. Most importantly, the only way that we can get our cost of living under control is to tame inflation. It is the only solution for all those Australians that are doing it tough. Today's news is not good news for ordinary Australians. They're feeling the pinch in their pockets. They're feeling poorer, and there's a good reason for that. It's because they are poorer. They're poorer than they were 2 years ago. They're looking to their government for answers, and they're finding none.
Getting down to brass tacks then, I mean, in terms of the government says a lot of the spending that's coming in this budget is unavoidable. What sort of spending do you think they should be avoiding specifically?
Well, we've been very clear about a lot of spending that Labor hasn't needed to commit to. $45 billion of legislation they've pushed through that we've opposed because it's not spending that we need for now. I mean, they've spent $450 million on a failed referendum. They're spending money on supporting grants for the CFMEU. The Treasurer himself is spending $40 million on a spin unit. They've added 19,000 public servants since they came to power, and public servants have an important role to play, but we don't need 19,000 more. So this is the sort of spending that we think is unnecessary. $209 billion, that's $20,000 for the average Australian household. Now, we'll wait and see what's in the budget. I'm not going to preempt the budget. All I would say is that the test for the budget is, are they able to show restraint? We're not talking about scorched earth here, we're talking about restraint. It's just sensible restraint. And governments have done it in the past. Now, they have thrown away their fiscal rules. This is the first and most important point, and Jane made this point. If you've got no fiscal rules, then you're not going to be restrained. Households are having to be restrained right now. They have no choice. It's time for the government to show that sort of restraint. And in fact, we're seeing all the signs that the government is addicted to spending and will continue to be in the lead up to the election.